Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast live. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert, and your host. I'm so excited to welcome you to this special edition for National Women in Business Month. And we have 3 dynamic lady experts who are going to break down all aspects of small business. We're going to be talking about branding. We're going to be talking about generating social proof for your business. And we're also going to give you some scoop on how you can get a mentor for your small business. So we're going to be talking about the inside secrets on how to develop an unforgettable brand. And we're going to talk about how to build trust for a new business or product. And I have a senior official here from SCORE who's going to talk to you about some new research that's come out about how people are coping post-pandemic. So you do not want to miss it. Here on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we're all about helping you start and grow a successful small business. And we bring in experts to give you advice from multiple angles so that you can take your business to the next level. Now, if you're watching us, hopefully you're watching us on my Small Biz Lady Facebook page or on my YouTube channel. And listen, if you hear something great, or if you have an idea for a topic that you'd like us to tackle on another episode, please leave us a comment, share the link, and like the page so that you don't miss another episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast. Now, if you're trying to boost your brand awareness, you do not want to miss what one of my branding experts has to share. And if you're looking to improve your customer experience, we're going to talk about how that goes hand in hand with building a brand that people trust. And if you're looking for ways to get more resources into your business that are low cost or free, we've got that information for you as well. So on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we are all about ending small business failure. That is the mission of our podcast, and it's really what we're all about. So with that, I would love to introduce my guests for today. Our first guest is Angela Durant. She is the founder of the Be Brilliant movement. I also have Melanie Deziel. She's the author of a brand new book called Prove It, Exactly How Modern Marketers Earn Trust. And I have Betsy Dougert, who's the Vice President of External Relations for SCORE. And she's here and she's going to be talking to us about all the cool resources and trainings that you can get from SCORE. So with that, it is time for me to introduce my first guest, Angela Durant. She is a brand strategist and the founder of the Be Brilliant movement, where she helps established business owners and brave entrepreneurs build their brands from the inside out so they own themselves and run a profitable business, and that they're positioned to make a significant impact in the lives of others. She's a talented speaker and master storyteller, and she has the ability to inspire companies and individuals to take action and show up powerfully in business and in life. If you guys want more information about her, go to the BeBrilliantMovement.com. Angela, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you, Melinda. I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to be one of your guests. I am really excited to talk about branding. It's really my jam.
Well, you know what? This is National Small Business. This is National Women in Business Month, excuse me. And so I had to go find me 3 boss chicks to talk to today. So you were the top of my list. So Angela, tell us your origin story. Like, how did you find your way to becoming a branding expert?
Well, that's a great question. My background is actually in hospitality. I work for all the big brands, and you probably stayed at one of my hotels. And I did that for almost 30 years. But 15 years in, something happened. I had a big job, I had a big mortgage, and I had a big bad boss who was about to fire me. And so after running a top hotel, getting Hotel of the Year, I got a new boss. And I don't know if you have ever worked for a difficult boss, but he was somebody that was very difficult to please. You know, like he would come in, he would ask me to make changes. I'd make those changes. He'd come back again. He's like, those changes are fine, but what about this? And what about that? And it was like the target kept moving. Mm-hmm. And something inside of me told me it was time for me to move on, but I was afraid. I was afraid to leave that good job, right? And so the day came that he arrived. I like to call him Ike. Ike arrived and he marched me into a conference room and he sat me down and he said, effective immediately, you will no longer be employed here. And it was devastating. It was all I knew. I worked that job since I was 21 years old. It was 15 years in. And, it was really devastating for me. And I asked him, I said, well, can I at least, talk to my team? Because I had a stellar team. And he said, we'll have conversations with your team. You can go pack your things. And again, he said, effective today, you have the end of the day until the end of the day. And as fate would have it, as I'm in my office crying, I got a phone call from the biggest hotel company in the world, and they wanted to come interview me that day. So they asked the guy was named Sean, and he said, are you going to be in the office? And I said, I'll be here till the end of the day. And he's like, I'm going to come and see the hotel that you're running. Now, mind you, I had just been fired and I was packing up my stuff, but I won't go into too much detail. But what I'll say is that I ended up getting another job, another offer within days. But the reason why I transitioned into becoming an entrepreneur was that I never wanted to be in a position again where I felt like someone had the power over my fate or my finances. I never wanted that. And I realized that I've been focusing really heavily on the doing all the things to climb the corporate ladder versus the being. And, really understanding and owning who I was and the value that I had in the marketplace. So after that, I still worked in hotels, but I started to pour into myself. And I took a program at Cornell. And the very first class I had was branding. And we built a brand from scratch. And I loved it. I fell in love with it. And so that sparked the idea to go deeper into branding. And I worked with mentors who work for the biggest brands in the world. And I currently have gotten my certification from a gentleman named Marty Newmeyer. So he has master classes in branding. Because if you look around, there are not a lot of master level classes in branding that are offered in colleges or universities, but he is leading that. And so I became a brand specialist, then a brand strategist, and now I'm a brand architect. And in April, I had the opportunity to work on Johnson & Johnson's brand through the program of getting the certification. So that is what led me to building out my own business and really going deep with branding.
So why do you think that it is so important for people to have a brand? Because I think a lot of times when people start out in business, they get their little logo, and it might even be like some clip art or 99 design or something, you know what I mean? But how important is it to really have a brand?
Well, I love that question because there's a famous quote by Walter Lander that says, products are made in factories, but brands are created in the mind. Right. And so I love that because it's so true. A brand is really a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or an organization. So it's really important as you're building your company that you build it in such a way that you have that customers have an affinity for you. And so that's why I think it's really important today to build a solid brand. And it used to be that it was the product, right? You're competing product against product. And then it was you competed against features. Like, okay, Melinda, you got your business. Now my business offers these extra features. And then it was, we're talking about all the benefits, and all those things still matter. But then it moved on to experience, right? What kind of experience are you offering your customers? And we learned all about that with the big brands in hospitality. But today there's another level. It has evolved, and it's really about identity, right? What does your product or service say about me, the customer, right? That I listen to this podcast, that I sign up for your program, that I'm a part of your tribe. What does it say about me? And that's where you really build brand ambassadors. And that's where you're able to outperform other brands that are in the same category. So it's very important.
Now, I know one of the things that you say, even in your bio, that you build brands from the inside out. What does that mean?
So many times people come to you and they're looking for, like you said earlier, they're looking for a beautiful logo. They're looking for typography. They're looking for color palettes. And I see that as just the tip of the iceberg, right? we never start there. We always start with the inside. And by that, I mean, we start with the brand's DNA, like the substance of the brand. What does the brand stand for? What are the values, right? Where's the fire in your belly that got you to start the company in the first place, right? And all of those things dictate the top of that, what people see and feel, the aesthetics, right? It dictates how you should show up in the world, how you should sound, and how you should look and feel to your customers. So that's why we build brands from the inside out.
So where should someone start if they want to build a brilliant brand? What should they do?
So I would have them start by asking 3 questions. 1, who are you? 2, what do you do? Where do you compete? And 3, why does it matter? And the third one is really important because meaning or mattering really is the new marketing, right? People want to know why you're in this business in the first place, right? They want to know your story. They want to know why, what you stand for. So why does it matter is a really important question. So who are you? What do you do? And why does it matter is where they can start.
So one of the things that I see a lot of is people get confused about whether they should be branding their business or whether they should be branding themselves. And I wanted to get your opinion on whether or not, I almost feel like it's kind of very intertwined depending on what kind of business they are. But I really wanted to get your professional take on that.
Well, I may be a little bit different in my line of thinking because I think it's all personal. Right. I think that someone who builds a company, the heritage of that company, why they did it in the first place, that's very, very important. So when we work with, most of our clients are founders, right? When we work with founders of their businesses, we always start with, the substance, the DNA, and we'll use that. There is crossover. And I will say that the line has really gotten blurred between the company and the founder, right? Or the face of that brand. And if you look at the followers, like we looked at Tesla, like Elon Musk has more followers than Tesla, right? You look at the Apple brand, the heads of the brand have more followers than the actual brand itself. So I think that it's all personal when you're in business and you put your heart and soul into it. So that's what I would say. And so our methodology is the same as we approach either your business or your personal brand. So that's where we would start.
Now, this is the last question before we go to break, but what makes a brand unique?
I would say what makes a brand really unique is the way it makes the customer feel. It's the space that your brand occupies in their mind, right? And so what makes brands like iconic, and it's not a rational thing, right? It's kind of a heartfelt thing. It's an emotional thing. And we used a tool called brand archetypes that help you really stay in alignment with how you want to make your customer feel. Right? When I think about Nike, I do this exercise in my workshops, and I show them the picture, this image. It's one of their ads of this little boy on a platform. It says little shorts on, and he's in this platform, maybe 17 feet high, and he's about to jump into the water, right? And it says something like, find your greatness, but there's no logo, there's no apparel, nothing is there. And I asked my audience, what brand is this? And there's always someone in the audience that says, is it Nike? And I'll say, yes, it's Nike. But how did you know? There was no logo. There's no specific color palette. There's no merch. How did you know? And she said it was because of the way it made me feel, like the way that I was inspired. There was something about it, about finding your greatness, that inspired me. And that's what makes a brand unique. And if you can do that, then you can build a really loyal following.
That is really, really interesting. We are sitting here talking with brand expert Angela Durant. You're watching the SmallBizChat podcast, and we will be right back. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I want to welcome you to Small Biz Lady University. Our mission here is to end small business failure. So all of the courses here are about 2 things: how to become your own boss, or how to make money online. So that's what we do here. So whether you want to learn about email marketing and sales funnels, or you're ready to get started with social media selling, or if you're really just getting started with e-commerce, you might want to jump into our How to Sell and Market Online course. Either way, if you want to learn how to become your own boss and do it well, I have everything you need here at smallbizladyuniversity.com. If you have any questions or have any technical problems getting signed up, just email us at support@melindaemerson.com. Take care. Welcome back, everybody, to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host. We are back with branding expert Angela Durant. Angela, I'm dying to ask you this question. So I think so many people don't focus enough on their website, which is their number one sales tool. How often do you think people need to refresh their websites?
I agree with you. I think it's really important because that's where everybody's going to check you out, right? And they Google you, you want to be able to come up in the search and you want to be able to have a presence there. I would say when it's not working for you, I would say if it's built right and it's in alignment with who you are and the messaging is on point, I would say that you're good for a while. If it's built the right way, you're good for a while before you might need a refresh. But one of the things that I would say too is to keep in mind that that is what you own. A lot of things on the internet we don't own, right? But that's something that is like your digital footprint, your real estate online. So you want to treat it like that. And I agree with you that it is, very important. And sometimes people don't treat it that way. They don't think they even need one.
Yeah, which is really scary. I typically tell people 18 to 24 months, you need to be kind of looking at a refresh if it's not converting the way you want it to. Let's talk a little bit about how do you build your brand positioning, because so much goes into positioning from your pricing strategy on down. But what kind of elements do you think people need to look at to build their brand?
So one of the tools that I talked about a little bit earlier is brand archetypes. And I want to give you an example of positioning that I think will resonate with your audience. So if you think about Coca-Cola and Pepsi, right? If you pour them into a can or pour them into a glass, they both look the same, right? But they're very different in the way that they make their customers feel. So the brand archetype of Coca-Cola is the innocent or the muse, and it has a very nostalgic feel to it, right? It's all about being happy, it says taste the feeling of happiness, right? Then you have Coca-Cola, then you have Pepsi, and Pepsi is the jester or entertainer brand archetype. And if you think about it, who does the Super Bowl, right? It's the Pepsi halftime. They have the big entertainers. Back in the day, Michael Jackson was there. But those brands, that's how they make their customers feel. They're very different, although they're competing. They're, fierce competitors in the same space. But some people just love Coke no matter what. And other people have an affinity for Pepsi. So using the tool of brand archetypes, and I can give a resource too. There's a book called The Hero and the Outlaw that will help them really look into, if they're interested in differentiation, it'll help them with that. Because that's what you're really looking for. You're looking for different. You want to look in your space and see who's there and how they're showing up, but you really want to be different, and you want to use the archetype that's in alignment with your brand.
Well, a last question I want to ask you. When people are seeking brand awareness, a lot of people say it comes down to the 3 R's, right? Relevance, reach, and resonance. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I love that, Melinda. I love that. Absolutely. And I would say when they're building their brands, I also want them to not only be able to attract clients, but I want them to be able to keep the clients, right? And to do that, I will really want them to focus on their tribe because, again, businesses have evolved, and it's the tribes, it's the communities that are the strongest that win. It's no longer one company against the other company. It's your tribes, like you and what tribe is going to take us down, right? So it's your community that's really, and it's about what do you pour into them? Like for your brand, Melinda, you're, teaching them how to avoid failure. You're teaching them how to build a solid business. You're teaching them how to generate revenue for their companies, right? So when they leave your campus, they're good to go. somebody else might not be giving them that. So the more as the business owner you're pouring into your tribe, the better, because you want them to be the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, the healthiest, right? And it's the strongest tribe wins. So I would have them focus on that.
Love it. Love it. All right. Last question. What's the best business advice you've ever gotten?
The absolute best business advice that I've ever gotten was that I needed to speak from the front of the room. I used to try to go to events. I would tell my mentor, I'm going to go to this event, this conference, that conference. And she's like, what's your goal? And I was like, I want to network and meet people. And she goes, no. I want you in the front of the room. You need to be seen as the authority. So that means you need to speak. And whether it's a keynote or you're doing a breakout. And I will tell you, instead of trying to find a needle in a haystack, people will line up, give you their business cards, enroll in your programs. They want to talk to you and they come to you. So speaking in the front of the room was the best advice that I ever got.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. We're going to come back to you in a little bit, but you have just dropped so many pearls on us. But when we come back, we're going to talk about generating proof and social proof, that is. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Are you ready to become a boss? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady. Click the button below and take my free boss quiz. This assessment will help you learn your entrepreneur type and find the right business model for you. Get this information about the number one asset in your business. Yeah, that's you. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host. I hope you are watching us on my Small Biz Lady Facebook page or our Small Biz Lady YouTube channel. And be sure to subscribe and share the link. We want other people to get all this good information we're sharing. All right. I am so excited to introduce my next guest, Melanie Deziel. She is a keynote speaker, author, and award-winning content creator, and the best-selling author of the Content Fuel Framework, How to Generate Unlimited Story Ideas. Melanie is also the co-founder and VP of marketing of theconvoy.com, a B2B marketplace that helps small and independent businesses save money on their everyday expenses so they can invest more in themselves and their communities. Her new book, Prove It, Exactly How Modern Marketers Earn Trust, will be released in just a few days. So, Melanie, we are so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Love it. It's good. It's so good to be here and to see you in person.
I know, right? It's like, we're Zoom friends. So tell me, why is trust such a big issue for small businesses?
One of the things that we don't have as small businesses is that benefit of the doubt and often the brand recognition that Angela was talking about. If we say Coke, we say Pepsi, there's a history, there's an understanding there. But as a small business, we don't always have that same recognition and legacy. And so we really have to earn it. And the best way to do that is to focus on building trust. Because I think with small businesses, it's hard for folks to know what to expect from us. If they haven't worked with us before, maybe they got word of mouth recommendation and they trust that person that recommended, but they really need to be able to trust us deeply if we want them to continue to do business with us. Because no matter what our goals are for our business, sales, downloads, clients, subscribers, whatever it is, trust precedes that. You don't buy from folks you don't trust. You don't subscribe to folks you don't trust. You don't give your personal information to people you don't trust. So starting with trust is really key.
So how does trust work, though?
This is a big question. And I wish I could tell you all the details psychologically about how trust works. I unfortunately cannot. However, what we do know is that people are more likely to trust when they see the evidence that backs up claims. So what that means is if you're rolling in and you're saying, I'm going to get you these amazing results and I can 10x your business and, all these different things that you're promising, it's going to be hard for people to trust that and take your word for it unless they see the proof. And so that's really what the focus needs to be. If I'm trying to establish proof, then what I want to do is look at all of the different claims that I'm making as a business, the promises, the guarantees, and then I want to say, how can I prove that to my audience so that they don't have to take just my word for it? They can either see it themselves or, understand it deeply enough to make their own conclusion or hear it from other people who can back me up.
Now, we're both journalists by training. Once upon a time, I was a journalist. And I was always taught that even if your mother tells you she loves you, that you got to go check it out, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't
I love it.
her word for it. So, it's always been about the data, right? So,
Yeah.
so how do you kind of help help small business owners kind of bring it back to the data?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That whole mindset of like, if your mom says she loves you, you check it out, right? That is I love coming back to that. It reminds me of being in J school. But, I think what we really need to realize, and this might sound depressing, so bear with me here, our audience doesn't trust us. And so when we are making these claims, like the mom says she loves you, right? If you're telling your audience you love them, you're going to deliver results. Like you can be, I'm right there with you. I've got your back. Like says who? You got to bring the proof, right? They're not just going to believe it because you said it. So that's it's a little bit of a mindset shift, but I think it's an incredible opportunity because we all know there's a lot of folks out there saying a lot of things. And if we can be the ones to back up the claims that we're making, like we're going to be able to stand out in a major way.
Well, speaking of the people out here making all the claims, what has Instagram done to the world of coaching? Because I feel like all these fly-by-night people that are coaches that are helping people make zillions of dollars, taking in pictures in front of Bentleys and renting private planes. I mean, crazy stuff. And people are falling for it. And one of the things that I always tell people is, if this person's only on one platform, be concerned. If this person's only business is coaching, you be concerned about that too, right? So, because you got to have a body of work to be able to coach somebody. You have to have been somewhere to coach somebody. But right. What do you think about what's going on with these visual mediums? Is it making it easier for people to lie and pretend?
I think, the fact that we have so many different platforms and there's so many ways for people to kind of lean into either visual content or audio only or whatever kind of is their like first content language, it does allow them to cover things up a little bit. We can focus the camera on the things that show our positives, avoid showing our negatives. So it definitely allows for that. But I think it also explains why consumers are so skeptical right now, because there are so many snake oil salesmen out there and people posing in front of, rented supercars. And I mean, my favorite example is like everybody's car extended warranty, right? Like we're getting the phone calls, we're getting the emails, like the reason to distrust is out there. And it's really up to us to prove we're not one of those sketchy car warranty, rented supercar kind of, party on a yacht type business folks. But you're absolutely right. I think in most areas of our life, if we're hiring someone to help us with something, we typically do our homework, right? Like if you're going to say, get your house painted or something like that, you ask around. You're like, all right, do you guys know somebody who's good at this? Oh, your living room is beautiful, so I'm going to hire that painter. I see the proof. They're good at what they do. And with coaching, it's really easy to see the results and not do the homework and think, this person is amazing. Look at the Lamborghini, like that they must be good. But to not really do the homework and say, you're coaching people on how to succeed. What is your success? Show me the success you have created for yourself, not as a coach.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about your book, Prove It. Like, tell me what made you write this book. First of all, I thought it's fantastic, right? I actually put a quote on it, but I want you to tell the folks out here why you decided to write a book like this. I mean, were you just fed up with all the foolishness out here?
Oh my goodness, there is plenty of foolishness out there. Thankfully, this had more pure inspiration than rage inspiration. I think it might have sounded a little different if it came from that place. But no, really. So my first book was about how to come up with content ideas. And people kept coming to me and saying like, great, I've got all these content ideas. Now, which ones do I prioritize? Like, how do I know which ones I need for my business? What's going to be best to start with? And to me, the answer was always like, what does your audience need to see to trust you? And so that's where Prove It really came from, which is like, you could create content about anything. You could do behind the scenes. You could do profiles. Angela talked about wonderful like brand purpose type content. But, it really depends on what does your audience need to see in order to believe you, to trust you, right? We have know, like, and trust. So this is all about how to identify those claims you're making so that you can pair your content strategy to say, if I want people to believe this about me, here's the content I'm going to create to help them understand that that's true.
Like it. All right. So let's talk about, what do you say are the top factors that influence trust, that can help you build trust with a stranger? How do you do it?
I mean, this is different in real life than I'll say for branding, right? Like, luckily, as Angela was talking about, in many cases, the brand is the person and you're kind of working with more of a personal brand aspect. But for your company itself, if you are, separate from a personal brand, you really want to be focusing on what do you want people to believe about you? Okay. So if you are saying like, I'm creative or, we're very experienced, like that's what you want to focus on. You want to lean into whatever that brand is for you, whatever that brand promise is, that's going to be your focus. So it's different for every business. And that's why I think it's really important to start with sort of an audit. You got to self-reflect and say, like, what am I putting out in the world? What am I claiming to be? What are the promises and guarantees I'm making? Because for me, for example, so I sort of have my own personal brand as being someone who's creative and I help people with their content. So it was really important to me when I was getting ready for this book, like, I got to promote this in a creative way or else I'm not proving it. Like, I'm just talking the talk and not walking the walk. So some other business might not focus on proving creativity and demonstrating that or getting other people to back it up. But for me, that would have been my focus. So you start with that audit, like, what am I trying to be? What do I want people to believe? And then identify the pieces of content that help you prove that best.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the best ways to build social proof? Because I know that's like at the end of the day, when you're trying, all of us are selling stuff online.
Yeah.
So how do you, build those landing pages, build those lead magnets with social proof in them?
So this is what I would call corroboration is really important. So, from our journalism days, like this is the sources, right? You can never say anything yourself as a journalist. You got to find someone else who's qualified to say it, right? So think of it the same way for your business. So if you're building these landing pages, you're building videos, you're building content to promote your business, find someone else to say what you want your audience to believe. And what I mean by that is find the customers who can do a testimonial, have your clients do case studies on your clients, find industry experts, right? Just like you mentioned, the book, I want folks to understand that it's helpful for them. I find folks like you who can share and say, look, you don't have to take her word for it. I read it and here's what I thought of it. So finding those people, whether they're within your organization, they're your clients, your employees, your neighborhood, your, community partners, find people who can back up what you're saying and put as much of that social proof so that you get to say, don't take my word for it. Here's who you can listen to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But now I just want to push back a little bit and ask you this.
Yeah.
Isn't advertising all about making bold claims though? Isn't it about being like, I'm the greatest, you know what I mean? Like, isn't that what everybody's out here saying, whether it's Gary Barbera downtown or, Melinda Emerson saying, I'm America's #1 small business expert right now. That's actually Googleably true.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like, what, isn't advertising driven by bold claims?
It is 100%, but business is driven by backing those claims up. Because if you are out there saying all these things and then people discover it's not true, like, you're not earning customers, you're earning bad response, you're earning a bad reputation, you're earning disappointment, you're earning unsubscribe, refund my money, I'm sending it back. And so you want to make those bold claims by all means. Like, make the boldest claims you can. Make the boldest claims that are true. Make the boldest claims that you have proof of. Because if you're not, then you're allowing your audience to find out that it's not true. That's not a good way to go.
I completely agree. When we come back on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we're going to talk more with Melanie Deziel about how you better prove it if you're going to be out here promoting your business. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. Stay with us. Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, and I want to welcome you to Small Biz Lady University. Our mission here is to end small business failure. So all of the courses here are about two things: how to become your own boss or how to make money online. So that's what we do here. So whether you want to learn about email marketing and sales funnels, or you're ready to get started with social media selling, or if you're really just getting started with e-commerce, you might want to jump into our How to Sell and Market Online course. Either way, if you want to learn how to become your own boss and do it well, I have everything you need here at smallbizladyuniversity.com. If you have any questions or have any technical problems getting signed up, just email us at support@melindaemerson.com. Take care. Hi there. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. We are talking about trust and how you got to prove it if you put a claim out there. I'm welcome back my guest, Melanie Deziel. Melanie, I want to jump back into this. How can trust actually evolve into loyalty?
100%. They are so intricately connected. So one of the things you have to think about is that loyalty is really aligning your brand as a consumer or an individual with the brand itself, right? You're sort of associating with it. I'm coming back to it time and again. I'm telling people I love this brand. I'm making recommendations. So it's really a personal act to kind of tie your own personal self to your company, right? To tie your consumers, to tie themselves in with your brand. So as you earn trust, you increase their likelihood of being willing to do that. I'm willing to put my reputation on the line as someone who's recommending businesses, as someone who's leaving a review, as someone who's, coming back time and again and exposing my colleagues or my, coworkers to this business or service. I'm putting my own self on the line, and I can only do that if I trust you. So it can really go a long way. I know word of mouth is honestly one of the most powerful kinds of marketing you can have, and you really have to earn it. That's the difference, right? Other kinds you can buy, but if you're going to earn people talking about you and praising you and telling their friends and coworkers about you, like, you really got to earn that trust so that they're willing to commingle your reputations together like that.
So why is it important to focus on what we call, I guess, the top 3 truths about you and your organization?
I think it's really important to have focus, because sometimes when I talk to folks about the need to prove it, they have like an existential crisis a little bit, like, oh my God, like we make so many, I'm looking at all of our content and our website and our emails and social, and there's so many things we could focus on. Those 3 key proofs that are truths that you can focus on really allow you to create a really focused strategy. Because again, we want to prove our claims to our audience, but we don't want to overwhelm them. Like, none of us woke up and said, I can't wait to consume some proof content today. Like, that's not how our audience operates, right? So we really want to make sure we have focus, and we can choose those things that are going to be worth putting effort and content into proving. And I think that comes back to a lot of what Angela was talking about understanding, like, who am I? What's my archetype? What am I trying to be for my audience? What do I want them to believe about me? I personally try to always focus on 3 words just like that. What are the 3? They're usually adjectives. Like, how do I want people to describe me? What are those 3? And then that can be sort of like a homing beacon. Anytime you're putting something out, does this align with my values? Is this showing that I am A, B, or C? Having that kind of focus can really help keep you on strategy, but also give you flexibility to talk about different things.
Love it. Love it. All right. What is the best business advice that you've been given?
Charge more. Especially it's Women in Business Month, right? Like, I'm just going to be real. I feel like I look back on some of the earliest things I did when I was running my own firm, and like, I'm embarrassed at how little I charge. And I think it's so common, especially for women, to undervalue yourself. You are so nervous about putting yourself out there. I'd rather get paid less than not get chosen. And it's really easy to rob yourself of the worth that you're bringing to these companies. I think it's a big mindset adjustment to go from how many hours am I putting into this project versus how much value am I bringing with this project. And I wish that I had learned that sooner, because it builds on itself over time, right? So have a real tough like self-reflection. Like, am I charging what I'm worth? How much value do I bring with this? And get someone else's opinion. Talk to others about what they're charging in this space. Because the truth is, if you're not charging enough, it signals something about your value that you may not even realize. Like, if I'm not charging enough, then my service must not be that good, or my product must not be that good. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you're understanding how much value you're truly bringing and charge what you're worth. If someone says no, that's a good signal that they're not a good fit for you. They're not ready for the amount of value that you can bring, not that you're charging too much.
Love it. Love it. All right, Melanie, thank you so much. I think that your advice is invaluable, honestly. Up next, we're going to be talking with an executive from SCORE about how you can access resources and a mentor for your small business. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast. Stay with us. Are you ready to become a boss? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady. Click the button below and take my free boss quiz. This assessment will help you learn your entrepreneur type and find the right business model for you. Get this information about the #1 asset in your business. Yeah, that's you. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. Now it's time for me to introduce my guest. She is Betsy Dougert, and she's the Vice President of External Affairs for SCORE, a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration that provides free business mentoring and education. They have a network of over 10,000 experienced volunteers. In her 10 years of experience in marketing communication, she has built brand awareness and inspired increased investments for educational institutions and nonprofits. Betsy leads SCORE's national public relations, social media, government relations, and alliance partnership. For more information, head over to score.org. Betsy, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
All right. So SCORE has been around a long time, but there's people out here that still don't know what SCORE is. So can you just tell us briefly, define SCORE?
Absolutely. So SCORE has actually been around since 1964. And as you said, we are a national nonprofit resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. We have 10,000 mentors all across the country who provide experienced business mentoring and free educational services to anyone who dreams of starting a business, growing a business, or in recent years, often troubleshooting business problems.
Now, how many SCORE chapters are there across the country?
There are about 230 SCORE chapters. We are in about 1,500 local communities. And so what that really means to your audience is that there is likely a SCORE chapter right down the street from them. And if there isn't, you are able to tap into SCORE's nationwide network through our website, score.org. And you can get a mentor from anywhere across the country who's a good fit for you, whether that means that you'd like someone local or someone in your area of business, industry, and expertise.
All right. So this is a question that often get asked, and I know the answer, but I want to ask you officially. So does SCORE offer grants or loans? Do you guys get involved in, accounting and legal services? Do you guys do any of those types of things for small businesses?
That is a big misconception about SCORE. So the short answer is no to all of the above. SCORE is purely educational in nature. So we do not offer direct funding. We do not offer legal advice or financial advice. What we do offer is experienced mentoring. Our mentors either own their own small business or they are business executives themselves, either current or retired. They will pass along that knowledge to you. And they will do this in the form of either mentoring online or in person or workshops. We offer online and in-person workshops as well. So anything in that educational mentoring realm, that is how we can support. And so when it comes to things like getting funding or finding the right experts to support your small business, we can help you walk through applications. We can help you put your best foot forward that way.
So how can a small business really just maximize their experience with SCORE?
So the best way to take advantage of everything that SCORE offers is to go online and take advantage of our free online templates and tools, and then to use those tools in collaboration with a SCORE mentor. So on our website, you will find hundreds of free business planning tools and resources. One of our best is the startup roadmap that will actually walk you through starting a new small business from soup to nuts. And if you take that tool and then add free SCORE mentoring to that experience, that mentor can help you apply that tool to your particular business situation and give you customized feedback. And that is really how you can make a tremendous impact on your small business.
All right. So there's a lot of small businesses. Many have recovered. Many are still struggling, though, post-pandemic. Tell me about there's a lot of stuff out here between now the recession, the inflation, gas prices, ongoing HR struggles, and we know that people are still struggling with supply chain stuff as well. What are you guys hearing from business owners out there about what people are struggling with?
Well, you're right that it's a pretty mixed situation right now. So our data from small business owners is showing us that there has been a lot of recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. So about a third of our small business owners are saying that their business has returned to pre-pandemic levels. Another 40% are actually saying their business is stronger than it was before the pandemic. But we are also seeing some very real challenges. So inflation, of course, is strongly impacting businesses. The cost of doing business has really risen, and businesses are struggling to connect with clients. Consumer spending is slowing down quite a bit. And so business owners are starting to make some shifts and adaptations to cope, namely in the form of finding more profitable clients or increasing their own prices. We have heard an average price increase of about 11% among our small business owners. And what they're saying is that some customers are understanding of that price increase. Some are feeling sort of impatient with that. So it remains to be seen where we're headed, I think. But the long story short is that business owners are resilient, they are adaptable, and they are doing what it takes right now to keep their doors open and keep their staffs employed.
Are you finding that it is a difference between sort of like the urban entrepreneur versus rural entrepreneurs?
Yes, we are seeing a big difference between what's happening in rural America right now versus urban. So we recently put out a data report called the Megaphone of Main Street. This is a biannual survey that SCORE puts out that really dips into the biggest challenges facing the American small business community at that time. And this latest edition focuses on rural small businesses. And what we're seeing is that rural small businesses are struggling compared to urban small businesses. And that's for a couple of reasons. One is that the cost of business has really gone up and populations are shifting. And so that is making it harder for rural small businesses to find and keep qualified workers and to keep their own costs down. And then the last big impact in rural America is that a lot of business owners are telling us they have unreliable access to high-speed broadband internet, which makes it more difficult for them to reach their customers and more difficult to actually perform their daily business operations.
Well, one of the things that I know that, as this recession is upon us, I know that you guys are figuring out new ways to serve small business owners. But in particular, it is National Women in Business Month. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, does SCORE have any programs specifically for women entrepreneurs?
We do. SCORE has a women's entrepreneurship hub that can be accessed through our website, score.org. And what you will find in that hub is a customized portal of resources just for women entrepreneurs. So there are educational resources in there, as well as funding opportunities, as well as experienced mentoring opportunities with business women who are looking to give back and based on everything that they have learned from their years in business. So that's a great place to get started.
Love it. All right, last question for you. What is the best business advice that you have been given?
The best business advice that I have been given is to find your zone of genius and operate in that zone as much as possible. So the zone of genius is that concentric circle between what you are uniquely qualified to do, what you are really good at, and what you love doing. And that is where you should be spending as much of your time as possible. You want to build out a team that has strengths that balance that out. Because when you have a diverse team, that includes diversity of people, diversity of thought, diversity of strengths and weaknesses, that's how you operate efficiently, really enjoy what you're doing, and create the strongest possible positive impact in your business.
Love it. Love it. All right. Thank you so much, Betsy. It's amazing all the work that you guys do at SCORE. I've been a big fan of SCORE for many, many years and have done many workshops and articles for you guys. So I'm excited to have opportunity to give you an opportunity to share on my platform about SCORE, because I want to make sure that people know about this invaluable free resource that's out here. Because I can't, so many people email me, will you be my mentor? Do you know how I can get a mentor? And I'm like, girl, I don't have time to do that. Go to SCORE. Please go to SCORE. I want to get you some help, but I cannot do it. But I'm so grateful for the work that you guys do. And I'm very glad that you are with us today. So on that note, I want to bring back in my other two guests. I want to bring back Angela Durant and Melanie Deziel, because we have a little quick panel that we're going to do that is called Hit It and Quit It. Now, let me tell you guys how this works. I'm going to ask each of you the same question. You only have 30 seconds to answer, and you cannot repeat somebody else's answer. If you do, I'm going to give you the cowbell, and I don't want to give any of you guys the cowbell. So that is how this is going to work. So Angela, since you have been waiting on ice the longest, you will get the first question, then you, Melanie, then you, Betsy, and then I'll tell you each time who's going to get the first question. Okay. So the very first question, and I'm not going to ask you anything hard, so don't get nervous. All right. So the very first question is, what is your favorite podcast?
My absolute favorite podcast is The Future with Chris Do, and it's for creatives and entrepreneurs, and he brings on some amazing guests on his show, and so I'm a huge fan. So that's The Future without an E on the end with Chris Do.
Love it. All right, Melanie, what's your favorite podcast?
So mine is, I'm taking a departure from our topic today. Mine is 99% Invisible, which is an NPR podcast. And they basically talk about the hidden facts and stories behind things that you see every day. So like, why are stop signs red and street signs green? And, what are these specific architectural structures I see everywhere? I think it just feeds my curiosity and makes me more present when I'm out in the world in urban environments to see those things I've learned about. So 99% Invisible.
Love it. Love it. All right, Betsy, what's your favorite podcast?
My favorite podcast right now is called We Can Do Hard Things by Glennon Doyle and her wife, Abby Wambach, and her sister, Amanda Doyle. It is all about filling up your cup and creating the life that you want so that you can ultimately be of greatest service to the world. And it is just charming, real life, relatable, down to earth. I love that one.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, these are all good podcasts. You guys are giving me some good ones today. All right. So now here comes the second question. Melanie, you're first this time, then you, Betsy, then you, Angela. What is your favorite business app? Favorite business app?
I don't know if this is allowed, but it's the Notes app. I mean, I know that's not business specific, but for me, I have ideas all the time, right? In places when I'm not at my computer or in front of a whiteboard. And so my Notes app is just absolutely full of thoughts, ideas, projects, collaborations, all kinds of stuff. So I like having that with me everywhere I go, so I never miss something good.
Love it. Betsy, what's your favorite business app?
I use the Notes app every day too, Melanie, but I would say my favorite business app is the project management tool that is most useful to me and my team at the time. So right now we're using Smartsheet. In the past, we've used Trello, but basically it just has to be a user-friendly tool that everyone on the team is actually going to use. And that is my favorite app.
All right. Love it. Angela, what's your favorite business app?
So one of my favorite apps is Once Hub or Schedule Once. It's an online scheduler, similar to Calendly, but it has the application feature so that we can pre-qualify clients as they come through and prep for sales conversations with them once they're on the phone with us. So it's Once Hub, and I'm a fan.
All right. All right. Good stuff. Okay. Next question. Betsy, you're first for this one. Then you, Angela, then you, Melanie. What is your favorite old school marketing tip? Favorite old school marketing tip?
Favorite old school marketing tip, I think, would be that you do not have to be all things to all people, and that you shouldn't be afraid to own your niche in the market. So it is okay to tell customers what you are and what you aren't, because the better you are at what you are, the more likely that your people will find you.
Love it. Angela, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
My favorite on old school marketing tip is because it takes so much to acquire a customer. I want to keep the customer, right? I'm looking for that lifetime value of my customers, and so I send my clients customized gifts. It's a great return on investment. They love it, and because I work on their brands, I know all about them, so I can send them gifts that they love. And what I found is that they have become ambassadors for my brand. They buy more and they give referrals. So customized gifts for existing clients is an old school, it's an oldie but a goodie. It works.
Love it. Love it. All right, Melanie, what do you got?
For me, it's gonna have to be clear over clever. This is like an old copywriting thing, but basically, for me as a writer, that's how I love to communicate. And it's easy for me to get carried away and like, oh, that's an awesome pun or like a callback or, something that's really fun and clever, but maybe sacrifices the clarity of what it is that I'm trying to say. So that's always something I'm trying to keep in check, the balance between clear and clever, because when in doubt, go with clear.
Love it. Love it. All right. Last question for you guys. What is your favorite business book? Angela, I'm going to ask you this one first, then Melanie, then Betsy. Favorite business book?
Okay, great. I'm going to give you two. One is The Brand Flip by Marty Neumeier. He says that if you're not ready, if you don't flip, you're ultimately going to be flipped if you don't flip, right? So that is a great read. And also The Hero and the Outlaw that I mentioned earlier. It's a great book. It's by Carol Pearson and Margaret Marks. If you want to learn about how to differentiate your brand and how to build brand loyalty, it's a great read. So The Hero and the Outlaw.
Love it. Melanie, what's your favorite business book?
Well, I'm going to take Angela's lead and break the rules and pick two. My first one I'll say is Giftology, which is about exactly what Angela was talking about, how to give the perfect gifts to like build that loyalty. But mine that I always recommend is Everybody Writes by Ann Handley. This is like my number one recommended book. Like Amazon is always like, are you sure you definitely already have this book every time I get one? But this book talks about how we may not think of ourselves as writers if we're business owners or something else, but everybody writes. You write, email, text messages, whatever you write. And this is about how to have confidence in that and how to do it right. So Everybody Writes.
I love Ann Handley, and that's a great book. All right, Betsy, what is your favorite book?
I'm going to recommend a book called Do Less by an author named Kate Northrup. It is a time management book that is specifically written for busy working women. And it's all about growing your small business by working smarter, not harder. So by focusing in on the handful of key things that are going to make an impact, rather than spreading yourself very, very thin by trying to do all of the things. I've read a ton of these types of books, and I've never heard of anything that is like what Kate is recommending. So that is Do Less by Kate Northrup.
Love it. Love it. All right. Thank you guys so much. You have been awesome. Thank you to branding expert Angela Durant. Check out her website, BeBrilliantMovement.com. Thank you so much to business expert Melanie Deziel. Please go out and grab her brand new book, Prove It. It is on Amazon. Go get it. And special thanks to Betsy Dougert from SCORE. Go to score.org and get you a mentor. All right. If you guys are interested in learning about what kind of boss you are, take my boss quiz. Go to bossquiz.com. I'll tell you what kind of boss you're going to be. And when you complete it, you're going to learn about the right business opportunity for you. Thank you all for joining me for this episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast. If you're working on your digital marketing skills, be sure to check out Small Biz Lady University. We've got 4 courses over there to help you take your business to the next level. My next course will launch live in January, so you want to reserve your spot today. The mission of the Small Biz Chat podcast is to end small business failure. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host, and I will leave you with this. You never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. Goodbye, everybody.